Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, the juiciest scoop there is right now is that I have a dog. Peter and I and the boys and Mackenzie, we have a dog and her name is Raven. And we came to get this dog because Peter and Drake met her breed, which is Alaskan Cliquet. Um, it's kind of like a miniature husky, but its own breed. And they both kind of like fell in love with this breed. So then Peter started to investigate the breed. And we do like to adopt, even though our cat Simba is a purebred Bengal. We did adopt her at 2 years old from a woman whose granddaughter was allergic and she couldn't have it. And so Peter started to like kind of look at face groups and stuff, Facebook groups that had ties to this dog, and found this woman because he found one that was like all the way in Tennessee, which there's no way to get that dog. But we were looking to adopt, not get a puppy. And so he's like, "What do you think? This dog is 7 and needs a home." And I was like, okay, like she's cute. It's not, I don't know. It's just, I was like, okay, let me just think about it. Like I wasn't really like even shopping for a dog because I think about my firstborn who's Simba. Okay. Cause we never had a dog as a couple or anything. So, we go to meet the dog and the trainer comes out and we're in Orange County and she is pretty cute and pretty hyper at the time because she's meeting new people, and and right away this trainer says, "Sorry, she's so fat. She's overweight right now, and she's very food motivated." And I was like, "Oh my God!" First of all, she's not fat at all. To me, I think she looks like she's got a great body and is trim. And no offense to this trainer woman, but like, really, you're going to talk about this dog's body? Like, look at yourself. So anyway, then she said, and she's very food motivated. First of all, who isn't food motivated? I mean, aren't we all food motivated? I mean, all I do is think about like my next meal or what I'm going to make or dream about it or what I'm going to put with it. I mean, it's like, and of course any animal is food motivated. So then she goes, "So yeah, I breed this. I'm a breeder of this dog and she's 7 and she can't have any more puppies. She also was a show dog, meaning she was in like all the best in show stuff. So she'll only walk on your left side. She won a lot of ribbons and a lot of awards, never the top award. I mean, we thought she would, and I was like, oh my God, she's right in earshot of you, And then I started to realize that 7 times 7, because dog years is 7 years, right, to every one of ours. She's exactly my age. She can't have any more babies. Neither can I, probably. And though I still get my period, don't mean to brag, but I don't think I can like get knocked up. And neither can Raven. I love her name, Raven. I've always loved this name because it's like a beautiful brunette, which I identify as. And then she was a showgirl. Like she had to do shows and competitions and be on when she didn't want to be on. And now she can just come and live with a family and like watch Bravo and get a little fat and we're not going to care. And I'm like, this is exactly what happens to actresses or old comedians in Hollywood. They just don't, nobody wants them after a certain age. So I said, I think that she truly is my spirit animal and I think that we should get her. So the boys were totally sold right away. Peter was like, okay, great. He calls the lady and said, okay, we'd like to pick her up after Memorial Day weekend when we're coming back from Palm Desert, where we went this past weekend. And it took her like a day or two to call us back or something to confirm that we could adopt her. And in that time, Peter started trolling the dating sites, okay? Just like a guy that has a girlfriend but is still on Tinder, he found a couple puppy versions of her. And I was like, why are you even showing me this? And then right away, Brandon goes, why are we looking at other dogs? You said it was love at first sight. Like, why are we? And I'm like, exactly. Why are you trolling for someone else when, she's going to live, providing she doesn't get sick. We've got at least like 6 or 7 years with her. and she's trained, and she just like is exhausted. She doesn't even bark because she's been taught like just dance, make babies, and keep your mouth shut. So like we've had her for now 3 days. We've never heard her bark. She can go goes to the bathroom outside. She is in love with Peter. She's following Peter around. I think Peter knew to be the one to pick her up and to feed her first and all that other stuff. That's fine. That I can have a sister wife. I don't care. I am happy that Peter's feeling love. And we've gone on the walks. I take the little plastic bag. I pick up the poo. I can't believe anyone walks their dog without a plastic bag. And so she's really cute, and she's going to be posted all over my Instagram. Simba was very freaked out. Simba was like a cartoon, like the arched back and the tail. And but so far so good. Raven is fine around Simba. Simba was just scared by Raven. And so I think it's all gonna work out. And Mackenzie's really excited to meet her. And I'm excited. And what's also exciting is that Raven looks a lot like one of my favorite TV show star, 90 Day Fiancé Ash. They have, her eyes are blue, but they have very similar eyes, Ash and Raven. All this, you guys, you go to heathermcdonald.net, click on my YouTube stuff. I post all this stuff with these photos on YouTube. So if you want to catch this little portion on YouTube, you can at youtube.com/heathermcdonald. So anyway, let me get into 90 Day Fiancé, people. Okay, 90 Day Fiancé, Ash with his weird eyes, his girlfriend who's very normal, she goes back. He's actually not from Australia. He's from some other weird island, and it makes it harder to give him a passport. So they have kind of like a romantic goodbye. Now the juicy stuff with Jeffrey. Now Jeffrey is the one we've been talking about, that once he got on the show, we found out that he had some accusations about domestic violence and arrests and this and that. He also, Juicy Scoopers have found, that he did some small bit acting parts. I've seen couple still shots of him doing things like, on like the ID channels or something, they like reenact a crime with like actors that don't ever have to talk, but you just see them moving around being the people as like the voiceover goes. He's done that because he's very good looking. So he asked his Russian girl, Varna, I don't know, to marry him when they were in Russia. She's like, it's a little too soon. He goes back home to Knoxville, Tennessee. He's like, I'm done with her. His like good girlfriend, that like platonic friend who's a pretty girl who's been in their group, they start to date. She decides, and thank God TLC encouraged all of this, and we're there with the cameras, to go visit him, surprise him on his doorstep in Knoxville. That girl has already spent the night. It's like 10 a.m. in the morning, and she's there. The two women are at it, and Varna is like, she want the war? I'll give her a war. This is my man. And she's like hugging him, and he's just shocked, but kind of loving that two girls are fighting over him. And she's like, well, what was I supposed to do? You never answered my messages. And he goes, well, wasn't that a hint that like maybe we're over with? So he takes her bowling or someplace that they were supposed to, where he was supposed to already meet all his friends last night with the girl that's like in their group friendship. The girl leaves really pissed, and they go out, and he introduces Varna to all of his Knoxville friends. And then the girl that he's been boning for the last 2 weeks, that's part of the group, she shows up. And I thought that was all pretty juicy. Now, aren't we in communication with him, Kelly, Jeffrey? We are in communication with Jeffrey to get some real scoop from him. He's going to do like a tell-all, and so maybe he'll do an interview with me after. Now we've got David, who is the biggest dork. He's 60. He's not terrible looking, but the more you follow him, the more I just cringe at, I know this guy's a huge dork. I know that I don't think he's ever been married. He has been talking to this beautiful Lana girl from the Ukraine for 7 years on a website. He finally explained why he has to talk to her on the website versus a phone, and it's because she doesn't speak English, and that way it translates their messages. They've been talking for 7 years. She's blown him off on 5 visits to the Ukraine. Finally, the TLC producers must have gotten to her and was like, look, Lana, you're going to be on TV. He's like the biggest star of the show. Like this could be something. She's like, okay, I meet him. So she only speaks very little English. He's taking all these photos on their date with a selfie stick. Now, first of all, I'm watching it with my son, Drake. Aren't selfie sticks like a little bit 2010? I mean, first of all, I feel like they're illegal everywhere you go. Like there's signs everywhere that says no selfie stick, like amusement parks, museums, airplanes. But he's very into the selfie stick. They take the worst photos. It's just like he's got this this awful jacket. His clothes are all 20 years old. He says to her through the translation on the phone, let's go bowling. And if I get a strike, I get to kiss you. And she's like, ugh. Well, he's like, I was actually a professional bowler, which she doesn't know that. So, by the way, I don't know how bowling's going to come back post-corona. I mean, I think you're going to have to own your own bowling ball. So it probably will just be only professional bowlers that continue to bowl. But whatever. I love bowling. I'm sad about it. Who cares? So it is one of the few sports I'm good at. Okay, so he does horribly. Finally, at the end, he gets a strike. And she is just freaking out that she says she barely kisses him. They go to dinner, and then he's like, in the translator, I'd like to talk to you about the K-1 visa for couples who are engaged, but we have to take a bunch of photos that we're together and I'd like you to come back to my hotel room with me. And she says back through the translator, I think it's a little soon for that. 7 years of talking. I don't know you that well. Well, what were you talking about for 7 years? Well, you weren't. You had somebody doing the writing for you. I don't even know. So there we go with that story. Oh, okay. So last group of people, baby girl Lisa and Usman. Baby girl Lisa is so awful, and their wedding is finally coming. They're getting married in Nigeria. She does Muslim prayer with the mother. They wash their feet in a toilet. It is just, and everyone says the reunion gets real ugly. Ugly in sense like juicy ugly. And so I'm excited for that. So we'll see what happens with them. Breakups. Another quarantine breakup, you guys. Sofia Richie, Lionel Richie's daughter, who's 21, has supposedly, according to Life and Style, broken up with Scott Disick. My first thought was, if I was Sofia Richie's parents, I would be so happy about this breakup. But then also sad, because now she's 21, and she had a lot of amazing experiences flying around in private jets with the Kardashians and Scott. But also, that's not what she should have been doing then. And she already came from a privileged life, so that probably wasn't that big of a deal for her. And, she's never going to experience college now. Now she hasn't been in school for like 3 years. She's been playing mommy to Mason, who's like 10 years her junior. And it's just like that time's over with. And I was talking about it with Kelly, and she goes, well, do you really think she would have gone to college anyway? And I go, what's really weird is I remember Paris Hilton was like the first person that I thought, oh my God, it's so strange that she didn't go to college. Someone of such privilege and money wouldn't be, encouraged and sort of pushed into an automatic going to college, because in generations past, those are the people that got to go to college. They had the money, they knew how to do it. Everyone in their family went, and then you'd hear about, I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. Oh my God, that's great. Oh my gosh, you're breaking a cycle, blah, blah, blah. Now there's all been these like first generations of my family to not go to college, because I'm so rich and wealthy doing my own thing in this new world. I don't really have to go. But I also feel it's kind of sad, and with the Olivia Jade and the USC and the fake getting in, and now none of our kids got to go to school this year, and now you don't have to do SATs. And I just really hope that universities remain and it becomes something that people choose to do as a chapter in their life where they get to grow and not be a stepmother to kids 10 years their junior on a reality show with Scott Disick. So, Sofia, I don't know if it's true or not, go do something else. And I think it's much better that this has ended. I'm glad you never had his baby, and maybe start your own lip line or whatever. I'm sure she'll do something, but maybe she could just focus on like, okay, let me focus on myself now. Cause I went from being like a junior in high school to being a stepmother and acting like a wifey to 38-year-old Scott Disick. So I'm happy for that breakup. I also wanted to say sometimes when I think there is a big age difference. Now, she's really young, but even if it's like a girl who's maybe 24 and marrying like a 43-year-old or a 30-year-old marrying a 50-year-old, and it's that girl's first marriage, I kind of feel like you think it's really great. And I'm not saying that it's not true love with this, but sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of like you're jumping a step in a life, in that you and your husband, the traditional thing is like you buy your first house together, you go from the condo to the house to the next biggest house to, and you're building this sort of together when you're closer in age. And sometimes the benefit of marrying or being with someone that's much older is like they already have that killer house and you step right into it. They already have a couple kids and you step into it. And it's just sort of like a little bit of a shortcut. And I'm not really criticizing it. I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it's just sort of like, maybe that is your life partner, but maybe like you should also look at it as you're almost missing something. You're always going to be that person that like, she's with him because of that, or, so it is a little bit of, it's just something to think about. It's just interesting. What's also crazy interesting that someone brought up is I interviewed Farrah Abraham, the most famous of the teen moms. I have not like religiously watched that show, but she's got a wackadoo mom who really does look a lot like Carol Baskin. Okay. Her name, and the mom's name is, what is it? Deb Danielson. Deb Danielson. She's on Instagram. She's cutting music, and she's doing the weirdest thing. Please go to her Instagram. She's got a black braided wig on, and she's called White Women Can Rap or something, and this awful weird dance. And she goes, "This is my song. It's coming out, and I'm doing do the something dance." And she's created this really little dumb dance that she can't even do herself. And she's hoping that it'll be the new TikTok craze, like the Savage, dance. You really kind of go, okay, you just need to follow her. It's worth it. Just trust me. It's just so crazy. You don't know what the hell you watched. All right, let me get into a little bit of Real Housewives of New York. Dorinda is is so cruel to Tinsley. It just doesn't stop. And so she goes to see a life coach. She's like, I'm going to go see this life coach. I just, ever since Richard died in the Berkshire's house, I don't know. And the way Tinsley is, it's like it gets to me. And it's like John, there was something, and he was an indoor cat, and I wanted an indoor cat, but then he was an outdoor cat, and I just got to talk to someone. So they show her going to this guy, Dr. Daryl Geoff. And I caught a photo of the door before she walked in, and it says chiropractor and nutritionist. But then the next photo, as she hugs him, it says Dr. Daryl Geoffrey, Dorinda's, quote, life coach. He doesn't crack her back. He doesn't tell her to eat a green shake. He sits down like a therapist. And he doesn't look older than 30 years old. And before I thought she was really seeing a life coach, I'm like, what's a 55-year-old woman who's divorced, widowed, and has a recent breakup of a relationship of 7 years with another man and an adult daughter going to talk to a life coach who's 30 about? What kind of information could he give to so of course she goes, I don't know, it's just this girl that I have, we don't really respect each other, we're not getting along. And he's like, well, why don't you guys just be cordial to each other, but just not get in each other's face? Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, it's so stupid. So she talks about Richard again. Richard was everything. Now with that we flooded at the Berkshires, and I've got all these, parts of my life that I never really worked with or did anything with. And, it's, so they show a photo of them on some yacht. And Richard and I don't know. She's just going, she says, I'm going through a lot. Breaking up with John after 7 years, dealing with the Berkshire house, and hating Tinsley's guts for no reason. Now, what I think she was married very well to Hannah's dad, got divorced. Then she told me she was a realtor and actually, I think, showed a property to Richard. They dated, fell in love. She lived a very lavish, fun life in high society between New York and London. And, not many years into their marriage, he got sick and died. And I think she really loved that life. And then I think she had some fun these last couple of years with John and had some fun being famous on Real Housewives of New York. But now that she's 55, is like, you know what? I would have given it all up. I wish that Richard was alive and I could have just been that rich lady going to lunch, having a couple cocktails, coming home, taking a nap at 4 o'clock, where she says she takes off her complete clothes, washes her face, gets under the covers. Every day takes a nap from 4 to 6, wakes up at 6, gets cute, and goes to a very nice fancy dinner at 8 p.m. and has a few more drinks. I think she would have really, I think that's what she's pissed about. And Tinsley, who is trust fund, generationally wealthy, which Dorinda, I think, came from a nice home, but no way came from like generational wealth or anything like that, is just seeing Tinsley. And I don't know why she has it out for her. So then they go to this Russian spa, which again, post-corona, it does kind of creep you out. It makes you not really want to go to these places anymore. So, but Ramona was very smart, and she goes, you know what? What I did is because I don't even like to go downtown. So I actually looked it up on Yelp and I brought my own towels, And you know what also, Tinsley, because you're a youngin', this part of your cleavage, my mother never told me this, it gets very crinkly. Like, have you seen Sonia's décolleté? It's a lot of wrinkles. So she's rubbing her tits in her famous one-piece dark green one-piece suit. And they're at this place. And they go and they get hit with leaf bushes by two kind of average-looking guys. I don't think they were cute. They just hit their bodies with like bushes. That's like some Russian spa thing. And Countess Luann and Dorinda do that. And she's like, Countess like, well, if I'm gonna get hit by a bush, it might as well be two hot Russian men. And they sit down to have like some weird Russian meal in the spa place, like, which is just like just to be down with like no windows and like steam as like you're eating some like Russian chicken. Ramona says to Dorinda, you know what? I really want to just say something to you, Dorinda, because you're like my really good friend and I love you to death. And I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not perfect. I'm really not. A lot of people think I am. I'm actually not. I think when someone upsets you, you don't even realize it, but you go for the jugular and you really hurt people's feelings, but I don't even think it's intended. And Dorinda's like, well, you should know, Ramona, because you do it all the time. You do it all the time. And you know what, Luann? I don't have a mugshot. No, she didn't say that line, but that's my favorite. So Ramona's like, oh, okay. You know what? I'm just going to stop right there then because you're obviously not getting my message. And then at the end, somehow they're like, oh, I think it's nice that Tinsley finally said to Dorinda that she respects her. Why is Tinsley saying you respect her? Why do you have to respect Dorinda? Is she your boss? Like, why would you respect someone that has said that you were a piece of gum in her mouth or a piece of mint that she would swallow? Okay. Then Ramona has one of her great networking events. And you know what I do? I invite a bunch of different women from different walks of life. Well, actually, they're all from the same walk around the Upper East Side, Upper West Side. But they do other things, and then they kind of interact, and then they might go out even together after. I'm actually kind of like a matchmaker of like really rich, wealthy women. So other women are excited to be on the show and have some cocktails with Ramona. Dorinda and Sonia show up, and Sonia reveals that Ramona told her that she's a very pretty girl, but that she's fat. And Sonia's like, so what if I'm fat? I'm still fabulous. And they just keep showing her eating. So her storyline is that she's fat this season. Kind of reminds me of in Sex and the City 2 when Kim Cattrall, or was it Sex and the City 1? Sex and the City 1, when Kim Cattrall's character comes to visit after Carrie does her new apartment and everyone's shocked because she has a tiny bit of her stomach hanging out of her pants. And they're like, Kim, what's happened to you? Well, I mean, what's her name? Samantha. Samantha, what's happening? She's like, I don't know. I can't fuck, so I'm eating. I'm eating everything in sight. Oh, my hot neighbor next door is getting me so horny. I've gained over 4 pounds. So basically, that's Sonia's storyline, that she's like over 50 and gained 4 pounds. Dorinda starts to attack Ramona in front of all these people and is like, you know what, for you to bring that up in front of the whole group at the Russian spa, you know what, you of all people, Ramona, should know that, I've had it. And then Ramona goes, you know what, I'm sorry, Dorinda. I'm really sorry that all these things have happened to you. I'm sorry that Richard died. And she goes, you know what, Ramona, I'm sorry that you've been through so many men and you can't even land one. And then Elise, the girl who's the new person that doesn't hold an apple at the end of the season, is like, all right, you know what? This is getting really ugly and really awful. She's kind of like the only voice of reason. Dorinda goes, I want to leave. Dorinda and Sonia both leave down the hallway. Ramona comes running after. She's crying. She's like, I'm sorry. I love you. They come back to the apartment. They all hug. And then Dorinda says, I'm really kind of happy that it was just the 3 of us tonight. And then the camera pans over to poor Elise and all the other women that are at this dinner party of Ramona's. So I'm loving every second of this season of Real Housewives of New York. So now I am very excited, you guys, to share with you a really inspiring, juicy interview. I love Love After Lockup. And I got to talk to Brittany, who is one of my favorite characters, about her life. And it's just a really interesting yet inspiring story. And she's completely candid. And I think, like I said, even if you don't watch the show, you don't have to watch the show because it's just about one woman's struggle from being a runaway preteen to now really doing a great job as a mother and wife. So I want you guys to enjoy that. And then, of course, there'll be more Juicy Scoop, lots of things that I can't discuss that I always share on Patreon on Friday. So you go to heathermcdonald.net, click on Patreon, and follow me and enjoy all my fun stuff. Go on, make sure you follow me on whatever social media that clicks with you because we post all the videos and all the sketches and everything throughout Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So thank you. And now here is my interview with Brittany from Love After Lockup.